taking Luka or you're taking Giannis with your first-round draft pick?
MT, I'm taking Luka. Look, he's as gifted as LeBron, not as athletically gifted, but at this stage of his career, his passing, his shooting, his ability to slow the game down, he makes everybody around him better. There's a reason why LeBron wanted to sign Luka to his first signature shoe. I go Luka Doncic.
Luka's that deal, Jay. I agree. And he needs to improve his three-point shot, but it's still a tall man's game. I'm taking Giannis because he's going to give me 30. He's going to give me 15. He's going to give me 5 assists. He's going to be amongst the league leaders in blocks and steals.
And he could be the 4th player to win 3 straight MVPs, so that's not too bad. I mean, if you're looking for a guy like Wilt Chamberlain to start your team with. Jalen, J-Will, appreciate you guys stopping by. I think you sticking around, J-Rose, so hang out. We're going to get you now to the game. You got the Bucks and you got the Mavs coming your way. We'll see you at halftime.
On a chilly 34-degree night in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 2 of the hottest teams in the NBA converging on Fiserv Forum. The Dallas Mavericks being hosted by the Milwaukee Bucks, who've won 3 consecutive games. Welcome to NBA Courtside, presented by McDonald's. And what a night of basketball here on ESPN. A constellation of some of the most luminous names in the game. Luka, Giannis, that's the first half of our double dip. The second half featuring Zion Williamson and the New Orleans Pelicans trying to get back on the winning track and facing a daunting task, taking on LeBron James and the reigning champions, the Los Angeles Lakers. What a night of hoop here. We're going to ball until we fall tonight. First up, though, Giannis Antetokounmpo, fresh off a triple-double, ready to run one tonight against Luka. Hello, everybody. I'm Mark Jones alongside Jeff Van Gundy. Thanks for coming aboard. A great night of basketball here this evening against the backdrop of a worldwide pandemic impacting the Dallas Mavericks, missing 5 players going into this game tonight in Milwaukee. Jeff, when you look at the 3 starters of those 5 players that are going to be missing tonight, as a coach, what's your thinking and how does that impact them?
Well, thankfully, what Dallas has done is construct a roster that is deep, and it's got great skill throughout the roster, and it's able to withstand these tremendous losses. A lot of teams could not perform well if they had lost this type of firepower. Josh Richardson, starting 2, Finney Smith, the starting 3, and Kleber, the starting 4. Like, this is a dynamic team, and Rick Carlisle and his coaching staff have to be thrilled with what they've accomplished since those guys went down.
Yeah, kudos to Donnie Nelson Jr. helping build up that roster so they've got some depth. Hey, the good news is that the odds-on favorite to begin the year, Luka Doncic, who got off to a slow start this year, is playing tonight, and man, he continues to develop into one of the most unstoppable players in the game, Jeff.
Well, offensively, he is as good as any player in the NBA, particularly when they get him in their 5-out offense and run and pick and roll. Some teams try to go underneath like you see here, but when he starts nailing this 3-point shot, he will be unguardable. And then you look at the combination of his ball handling and his footwork. A guy who can make multiple moves against a tremendous defender like Adebayo. Here, this is big man Akeem Olajuwon type step-through moves. This is just tremendous basketball, individual offensive skill. And then in the 2-man game, you don't realize how big and strong he is. He's able to generate the contact and play through the contact. And then his great size gives him the ability to see over the defense and find his teammates. As good a pick-and-roll passer as there is in the game. And look at this hook pass. 44 feet in the air, right into the shooting pocket. He is dynamic in the 2-man game.
He's got a couple of triple-doubles in his last 4 outings as they continue on this road trip. And his opponent tonight, he's gunning for Giannis Antetokounmpo. And, you know, the entire city of Milwaukee and throughout Wisconsin gave it a big exhale when he signed that Supermax contract just several weeks ago. And Believe it or not, he is paying off big time on that huge deal already, Jeff.
Well, there's no doubt the two-time MVP started a little bit slow, but has come on and is playing Giannis type of basketball. He's attacking, he's assertive, and he plays both ends. And this is the golden moment brought to you by McDonald's. You see how Utah's trying to form the wall in transition to try to stop him from getting into the creases. But even though they put multiple defenders in front of them, if he gets any type of seam, with his skill and his strength, he's able to get to the rim. And then what did championship caliber front offices do? They surround their best player with shooting. So when he attracts the defense, he can make them pay with the pass. If he didn't have this shooting around him, he would not have the chance to shine like he shines. Here, the inverted pick and roll, another great pickup, and Bryn Forbes nails another three. And that space that he's given to operate has allowed him to develop his game and develop into the two-time MVP. And this guy is on course to have a championship caliber year once again.
He loves seeing Dallas show up. In the two meetings a season ago, he averaged 41 points per game, including 48 in one of those outings. Meanwhile, the Dallas Mavericks happy to see Kristaps Porzingis back in the lineup, fresh off of knee surgery in October. We'll speak with him right after this.
How about we tip off the night with two MVP candidates? Giannis, the only player averaging 25, 10, and 5 assists. Meanwhile, Luka, over the last 2 seasons, has led the Mavs in points, rebounds, and assists 30 times. That's the most of any player on any team, period. Let's check out tonight's three-point performance brought to you by Mountain Dew. The Lakers combined for 31 threes in their last 2 games. LeBron James has led this long-range barrage. You saw the no-look three. He's got 9, as the Lakers have now won 4 straight heading into tonight's game with the Pelicans. And speaking of those Pelicans, let's talk about Zion Williamson, because it's good to see him returning to the lineup after missing Wednesday's game, inconclusive COVID test. He's averaging over 17 points in the paint this season. That's the most in the NBA. And 135 of those 140 field goal attempts have all come inside the paint. Let's check out Wednesday night's doubleheader. You can watch it on ESPN and the ESPN app. The top teams in the East square off in our first game at 7. Celtics taking on the Sixers. Then Devin Booker and those Hot Suns are in Houston to take on John Wall and the new look Rockets. But tonight we're kicking things off with the Mavs taking on the Bucks. Kristaps Porzingis, just his second game back since that ACL tear, 16 points in the first game. What will he have for the Bucks tonight?
We're doing our part still. And I think it's going to show up a lot this season, especially on Martin Luther King Day.
I'm extremely committed to paying it forward, making change, making a difference. I think, we all have a responsibility to leave the earth better than it was when we found it.
It's not just groceries for today, but we'll be providing groceries for you for a full calendar year.
We want to continue to, listen to our communities, listen to our people, seeing ways we can help.
Something that I've always done is just try to find ways to give back. For MLK especially, paying homage to him is something that I'm looking forward to doing.
We cannot turn back. Not the most famous, but maybe the most important line from Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech. A speech that's emblazoned across these shooting shirts all over the NBA for the next few days. The shirts were designed in collaboration with the Players Association, the MLK Foundation, and Martin Luther King III. And while some of the civil rights icons' dream has been realized, our nation continues to reconcile with those same deeply embedded social injustices. But the players, they're doing their part. CJ McCollum helped build a dream center in Portland. Drew Holiday is donating part of his 2020 salary to Black-owned businesses and nonprofits. Steph Curry, he's funding the first 6 years of the Howard Bison's D1 golf program. And Jaylen Brown has lobbied for the George Floyd bill in Boston. It's to combat police brutality. Even former players like our own Jalen Rose have launched a charter school. They're all trying to live what it says right here on my chest. Now it's time to make justice a reality for all. And now it's time to check out two guys who are playing with confidence, brought to you by New Amsterdam Vodka. When talking MVP, Luka and Giannis are in the discussion again as they have the best odds to win the award. Luka's the only player this season in the top 5 in both points and assists per game, while Giannis is looking like his MVP self again after a slow start this season. He's currently the only player averaging at least 25 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists. If Luka and Giannis finish top 2 in the MVP battle, it would be the second time in the league history that the winner and runner-up were born outside of the United States. In 06 and 07, Dirk won the award while Steve Nash finished second. Welcoming back in Woj, Jalen, and Jay Will. And Woj, when you think about these two superstars, I immediately think about the Woj pod and all that's gone into discovering the Giannis draft. What's your reaction to what they've been able to do so far this season?
Well, it's really remarkable to think, Maria, back to that 2013 draft night. Giannis's agent, Alex Saratsas, was trying to get him to number 16 to Atlanta. He was very worried, though, about Dallas at 13 because Donnie Nelson, their GM, loved Giannis. In fact, in the draft room that night, Mike Procopio, who was a front office slash coach at the time, said to me, that Donnie wanted to draft him, told those in the draft room, he reminds me of a young Dr. J. But the Mavs were headed into free agency. They wanted to get Dwight Howard in that summer. And so they needed cap space. They traded the pick. And obviously Milwaukee took Giannis Antetokounmpo with the 15th pick in that draft. Later on, obviously, Donnie Nelson, he will be remembered, though, for drafting Luka Doncic.
Well, we know what Luka's been able to do, obviously, had a huge season a year ago. But, Jay, well, what does he have to do this year to walk away with the MVP trophy?
You know, barring injury from last year, you know what I mean? Like, he was right there. He was right there. And, look, Giannis, I think it would be hard for Giannis to surpass what he did last year. I just think statistically he was exponentially better than what he was the year before. And I think the one thing that kind of lingers over Giannis is the fact that he has not won a chip yet. I know this is a regular season award, but it feels a little bit awkward not to bring some kind of feeling into it, knowing that Giannis hasn't accomplished the ultimate goal yet. Maria, my eye is set on LeBron James. Year 17 in the league. At 36 years old, has the Lakers off to the best record in the league at 10-3, undefeated on the road, and the fact that he's averaging 24, 8, and 7.5 at this juncture of his career and hasn't taken his foot off the gas, still wanting to prove he's the best player in the world, I think it speaks volumes about how LeBron is going to attack this season on the way.
Yeah, he always has something to prove, but so does Giannis. I mean, obviously he wants a championship, but he wouldn't be mad at a three-peat, though, Jalen. What would he have to do to walk away with the award 3 years in a row?
And these are vastly different candidates. And Giannis will have to do something that has never been done in league history, like put up 35, 15, and 5. Like, he would have to go crazy with a couple of blocks and a couple of steals. And they've had the best record a couple of years that he won it. So that means voters get fatigued. Luka's going to be a better story. They were 6th seed last year. He became a top 10 player. Porzingis is going to have a lot to do with whether he's actually able to win it, because to me, Luka's going to have to put his team within the top 4, at least of the Western Conference. Teams are going to be separated by 1 or 2 games, but they at least got to be amongst those top teams. And Jay brought in LeBron James. I just want to acknowledge 2 more candidates. One is international. Can the Joker get some love, Maria?
You're giving him love right now.
Yeah.
In assists, spinning baseline, Woj dunking backwards. He's balling for the Nuggets. And I got a dark horse for you. Kevin Durant. Didn't they just add James Harden to go with Kyrie Irving? Isn't he coming back from an Achilles injury? We love a great story. And now we got something to watch on League Pass every night Eastern Standard Time. So don't sleep on the Slim Reaper in this conversation.
All right, well, your conversation doesn't stop here. Jalen, Jay will stick around. Woj, you're done with us, but we'll continue our NBA countdown. We got plenty of matchups coming your way. And we started off with Dallas taking on Milwaukee. I bet Chris Middleton would be happy if Giannis was to three-peat as the MVP. Little known fact, though, shooting 47% from three on the season. We are counting down to Bucks.
Okay, they don't get it. Just know you doing well if you got a lot of critics.
Welcome to NBA Countdown, presented by Mountain Dew.
Happy Friday night and welcome to NBA Countdown. I'm Maria Taylor, coming to you live from the Seaport District of New York City, brought to you by Chase. Now, you've been hearing all about the big three from the Nets. Our big three will be here, Woj, Jalen, and Jay Will. But let's start with a little bit of news that's still trickling out from Brooklyn. And of course, it has to do with Kyrie Irving. He'll lose nearly $900,000 as a result of a violation of the NBA's health and safety protocols. The league announced that today. The NBA fined Irving $50,000 for violating the coronavirus safety protocols, and the All-Star will also forfeit his salary for the 2 games he missed. In addition, he's out for Saturday's game against the Magic due to health and safety protocols. Now we welcome in our senior NBA insider, Adrian Wojnarowski. And Woj, so many questions, but I want to know how the Nets are handling this situation with Kyrie, and of course, how it all came together with the Harden trade this week.
Maria, Kyrie Irving, I was told, was eager to play tomorrow night, debut potentially with James Harden and of course Kevin Durant. But ultimately it was decided, listen, because he's been away, hasn't played a practice since January 5th, that just putting him back on the court in a game situation might not be the wisest thing to do. He'll have an opportunity to rejoin the team, potentially practice on Sunday, and then play Monday against Milwaukee. And he comes back to a very different reality with these Nets than prior to his extended absence. The James Harden deal had been discussed between Houston and Brooklyn really for a couple months on and off. It did heat up this past week while Kyrie Irving was away. And you know, for Brooklyn, listen, it is insurance for Kevin Durant's future with the Nets, and having James Harden on board. They don't want to lose KD in free agency, and it comes up quickly. He could be a free agent. All 3 of these players could by the end of next season. But remember this, too. The Nets' plan was always to use the assets they had built up to go get a third-star player. James Harden happened to become available. If a player, hypothetically, like Bradley Beal was available, and he hasn't been, you know, that would have been a target for the Nets and any number of other, big market teams in the league. But right now, you know, Kyrie Irving returns to a 3-man starry cast here, unlike we've really seen here in the modern era of the league in terms of trying to figure out how are they all going to fit together, how is this going to work?
Yeah, Woj, we're going to find that all out on Monday. Stick around, don't go anywhere. Plenty more with Adrian Wojnarowski. Let's get into what this big three is going to look like on the court. We know so much about offense, but they say defense wins championships, and every single NBA champion since 2003, the Spurs, they ranked in the top 11 in defensive efficiency. It's hard to see this group doing that. The Nets currently ranked 13th, and that was before acquiring James Harden and sending out their best rim protector in Jarrett Allen. But how does this offense work? Let's ask James Harden.
I can't predict how it's going to go. Kyrie might score, 10 possessions in a row. KD might score 10 possessions in a row. Like, they're more than capable of that. And I'm fine with that, because we're going to be winning and it's going to be good. So tomorrow we'll see, and it's going to be fun, and I'm excited about it.
How would you describe your conditioning level now at this point in the season?
Great.
Conditioning doesn't matter if you can score on the court. Jalen and Jay Will are here with us now. Jalen, I want to start with you. KD, Kyrie, and James Harden. How does this work on a court?
This is about to be a new era version of what we saw when LeBron James joined Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh in Miami. I'm not saying they're going to win the championship this season because that big three didn't win it in its first season as well. But I'm interested to see if they're going to be able to win a couple. And it's exactly what the East Coast needed, a villain. You got KD, who left the Splash Brothers after winning back-to-back finals MVPs and hurting his Achilles. Kyrie Irving left the opportunity to play with LeBron James and the Boston Celtics. James Harden basically told the Rockets, trade me or else. And so these 3 guys on the same team at the same time elite playmakers, terrific in isolation, awesome scorer. James Harden will be the guy to make the sacrifice because he's a terrific playmaker. And Jay Will, he's the one that hasn't won a ring just yet.
Well, you mentioned it.
Exactly.
Those are three of the top 5 ISO players, too. Go ahead, Jay.
I was going to say exactly, Jay Rose, after being down 3-1 to the Golden State Warriors, he had it in his clinches. And I'll say this, there's an element of them that remind me a little bit of your squad, Jay Rose, back in the day. Not from a physicality perspective, but there's a little bit of that Detroit Pistons swagger, right? Like, we are the new bad boys of the 21st century, and we're going to do it our way, whether you like it or not. And here's how they actually do it on the court, Maria. You move Kyrie Irving off the ball. You give the ball to James Harden. You play fast. Look, if KD gets a rebound, if Kyrie gets a rebound or James, you push it up. You play really fast. But if you do get into a half-court scenario, I like the ball in James Harden's hands, considering he averaged 10 assists, especially this year with the Houston Rockets. And think about this from a coaching perspective. You put a blend. Steve Nash did some work with the Golden State Warriors. He understands that continuity system in which they had with Steve Kerr. Now you also have Mike D'Antoni on the same bench that understands James Harden and also understands floor spacing. All these guys are multi-dimensional threats. It's going to work offensively.
And if nothing else, they're going to win games, like 130 to 140 or something like that. We know they're going to be able to score the ball. But the real question is, too, it's not only on the court, it's how these guys function off the court, Jalen. If you had to suggest who the leader of this big three would be, who would you go with?
Oh, KD the leader. No doubt about it. When he went to Golden State, he didn't want to embrace those responsibilities. He's the leader. Because you know what, Maria? The last couple of weeks with Sean Marks, Steve Nash, Mike D'Antoni was trying to call Kyrie, and he was sending him the voicemail. He was answering when he talked to KD. They was like, where's your man? And when it was time to bring in James Harden, they was like, KD, what do you think? Because he's a guy, along with the others, that has a chance to leave after this season or so. So KD now, I think, is going to be comfortable being there. He's going to be comfortable being the leader. Now on the East Coast, man, anchoring what we've seen on the West, with LeBron being the king, and we know about Kawhi and PG. But how about the Splash Brothers when Klay Thompson comes back? This is going to be great theater for the next couple of seasons.
And we know we have
Rose,
all three of them
you.
at least for the next 2 seasons.
Exactly.
Sorry, guys, we're
and
dealing with
Rose,
audio
I'm so
issues
with
back
you.
here.
It is Kevin Durant. It's Kevin Durant. It's not even a question, right? Because when you think about KD in this situation, when he was with OKC, Jay Rose, they were the young pups, right? Nobody really knew how to lead when you have Russell Westbrook and James Harden and Kevin Durant. And then when KD went to become part of the Splash Brothers crew, right? Everybody on that team was extremely professional. It was a well-oiled machine. Now you got Kyrie, a situation, you know James is going to ball. But I'll say this, Jay Rose, and it's really interesting. And I'm not saying they do it openly, but like James Harden, has he really played with a player that he knows maybe is better than him before in his career? Like with Russell Westbrook or CP3, he was always a guy. Now he's looking at KD like, yo, you KD. Right. Like I know I'm James. I'm still one of the baddest ones there ever is in the game, but you KD. Now everybody in the way kind of acquiesces to Kevin Durant. He just needs to be aggressive with it and tell people what he needs in order to get it done.
And also Maria, KD, now that he don't have to necessarily carry as much of the load, he gonna have time to respond to people on social media. How about Kyrie? He gonna be burning a lot more sage. And James Harden, he's going to stimulate the economy of gentlemen's clubs in New York City. I can't wait till these guys pair up.
I couldn't.
Theater at South Street Seaport.
I couldn't hear you half the block, and the only thing I needed to hear was what you just said. So we're going to move on. We're going away from it. It's time to check out tonight's Signature Style, brought to you by Zales. It's Boban. Check him out walking into the arena. I guess we're just going with a puffer and some sweats today, which is actually miraculous considering how tall he is. So finding sweats at that size, at any size, is Signature Style, brought to you by Zales.
When we're listening to the big timers, imagine he has some gator boots.